Kevin Peterson, must be Thursday-ish. Family Matters with Kevin Peterson. How are you?
I am doing really well, Jay. This isn't our first one in the new year, is it's our second?
I think it's the second. So,
Okay. Well, Happy New Year to you, regardless.
well, thank you.
Good to see you, my friend. And I hope you're feeling better than you were last week.
I mean, I was sick as a dog, and then Nashville had an ice storm, and so I haven't had power in 3 days. And thankfully, there's branches, trees down it's just a mess. God bless all the utility workers in Nashville, but there's still like 100,000. But somehow, some way, was able to escape late last night. So I'm down on the coast. Going to be here undetermined long. Could be another week, they're saying, with no power. So I'm grateful that I've had opportunities to kind of be able to slip outside and do whatever. So Kat wasn't happy with the drive down, but oh well. So I packed real quick, so I don't have any Jaywalker swag on, but Family Matters is always, since the new year, been brought to you by Jaywalker. Kevin right now is the face of Jaywalker to the best of his ability. But I know last week you were in family program, so kind of want to give an update or like a brief overview of what happens at a family week. Some people hear family week and they think of, God knows what else. So
Right. They think of 3 or 4 days of cage match family therapy, no holds barred. Everybody gets a piece of you.
Wait, you guys don't do that at Jaywalker?
No. Turns out I don't like creating trauma. I like healing trauma.
You're missing out, Kevin. You're missing out.
Oh no, I've had plenty. So it was 2 weeks ago. We had the January. And it starts Thursday night. We have a dinner. Our chef makes just this amazing dinner Thursday night. It's just kind of a get to know you, meet all the family, meet all the staff, meet all the clients. And then Friday morning, we go right into workshops. It's very educational. It's very interactive. So Steph Bate, our CEO, will do a workshop on sort of the Jaywalker way and the history from, Bobby Ferguson's ideas to today. And then Dennis Bollinger, our chief clinical officer, does a really fascinating talk on addiction and attachment. And it's really good. Then we have lunch, and then our chief psychiatric officer, Gail Matheson, comes in and she talks. She's a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and she answers a lot of questions. Folks always just want to know what kind of medication do you give? What don't you give? Why? What the ones you give? Why? Where are you at with that? And she answers all their questions, and then she also shares some personal experience, which is awesome. And then Casey does like an aftercare. Our chief medical or marketing officer does an aftercare program discussion. And then that night, there's an AA meeting they go to, speaker meeting on Friday night. And then on Sunday or Saturday morning, we do another great talk by my colleague, Chandra McLaughlin, who's an LMFT and sober. And she talks about family communication and uses the Gottman style. And then we do an interactive. And then that afternoon, Saturday afternoon, Sam Funger, our alumni director, comes in and tells his story. And the funny part there is that like a year and a half ago, I didn't have anyone to speak on a Saturday afternoon, and I was panicking. And I stuck my head in the tech office, and there was Sam with his, purple hair. And I was like, "Hey, what you doing?" And he's like, "Nothing." "Great. I need you to come tell your story." And I didn't know his story.
Yeah.
I knew he was an alumni. And oh my God, I was just like, I was a drunk fraternity boy. Okay. I caused trouble, but I was your garden variety alcoholic, as they say in the big book. These kids today, I'll tell you. And he really knocked it out of the park. So he's kind of my guy. And then Sunday morning we do like a wrap up and a brunch and some reflection stuff and that sort of thing. So it's really not about coming in and doing like heavy duty family therapy. It's more like, let's get together and realize why we like each other and create that foundation and move forward, you know. But I got to tell you a funny story.
I'm always in the market for a funny story.
Well,
Can I steal it?
Well, I mean, you're gonna love this one. So I always bring Bert with me, you know, the Boston Terrier therapy dog, and he is a big hit, man. Everybody loves him, and he loves the dinner Thursday night because, you know, he gets lots of food. I wasn't paying attention at the dinner Thursday night, and he snuck out. He went out the back door. Somebody left the back door open. And it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to realize that he was missing. So I went into a full-fledged panic because he was gone and I couldn't find him. And I had about half a dozen people spanning all over Carbondale in cars and in person with flashlights and nothing. I mean, I was like panic. I was really freaking out. And then it struck me, this is a small town. Call the cops. And I called the cops and I was like, hey, I'm missing my dog. I'm right here by the White House pizza place, and I have a little dog, and the guy's like, the dispatcher was like, what's he look like? I'm like, he's about 18 pounds, black.
He was in the pizza place, wasn't he?
No, he gets better. And the guy's like, hold on. And I can hear him on a radio. He's like, yeah, we got him. And I'm like, really? He's, yeah, we just dropped him at the shelter. So you better get over there because they're going to shut their doors. So I bolt over to the shelter, leave the dinner, bolt over to the shelter, and I catch the lady as she's driving out the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, hey! And she's like, are you here for the little black dog? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I got to call the cops and make sure they're pressing charges on you. I'm like, oh, shit, okay. So she calls the cops, and the cop's like, no. He's, it's all, by the way, at this point, this is like 45 minutes, okay? This is not like hours. And then the girl that worked the shelter downstairs comes up and, Bert's all, hey, what's up? And she's like, he's so cute. And I'm like, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
And I said, do I pay you? And they're like, no, he's been here 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, I want to donate. They're like, no. And then there were these pile of Aspen Valley Animal Shelter calendars, fundraisers. I said, I'll take them all. And I bought them all. And so came back, everything's all hunky-dory. So here's the story. He snuck out, and a lady over at the pizza place found him and was holding on to him and checking out, trying to figure out, who he belonged to. Couldn't find anyone, called the cops. Cops come and get him, take him to the shelter. So my boss, Dennis, is like, oh, well, he's a true jaywalker now. He went AMA, went over to the bar, picked up a chick, got zapped by the cops and went to jail. And then his codependent father came and bailed him out. So that's how the family weekend started. But it was a tremendous success.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He had a little story to tell his brothers and sisters. So
yeah, well, he was like, and the funny part was the lady that found him, the cop, and the shelter people were all in love with him. They're like, oh, he's great. I'm like, well, say goodbye to him because this is it.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. What do you got for me?
Well, I'm glad we did this, and was not on purpose either, because it's amazing how this happens. Everyone thinks I'm this great host, but we do have a question. It's been a couple of weeks, so hopefully they won't forget about us. But it's interesting because you just kind of went through everything at a family program, and this person is basically saying their loved one is in treatment, and what's the difference between a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, counselor, alumni? She's like, I can't tell you how many different people I'm telling or are talking to, and it all seems as if they all have a different version of my son. What does this all mean, and who should I really even listen to?
Oh my gosh, that's a hell of a question. Well, let's start with the roles, okay? So at our facility, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, we start with what we call behavioral technicians, behavioral health technicians. And the truth of the matter is those are the guys that run the place. Those are the guys that are there 24/7. They know what's up. They know all the scoop. They're the ones that transport people. They're the ones that go to the meetings with them, do the activities with them. They're with the guys all the time. Now at Jaywalker, I'd say about 90% of those guys are alumni.
Yeah.
And they have to have a year sober before we'll hire them. But it's a pretty groovy job, and it's pretty. So that's your behavioral tech on the ground, handling your son 24/7. They're there 24 hours a day. They're the ones administering the drug tests. They're the ones delivering them to doctor's appointments, therapy, yada yada yada. Next step up, we have individual therapists. The individual therapist meets with your son. And, depending on the system of the place you're working at, they may or may not engage with you and just kind of give you some updates. We don't do that. The family therapists do that at our place, and then we can get there. And then there are some clinical supervisors that supervise the therapists. We have some interns, people that are in graduate school, and we have some contract workers that do specialized work, therapy work. At Jaywalker, everyone that is a therapist is licensed. Some of them are dually licensed, and meaning mental health and addiction. And then in the family program, we have 2 LMFTs, and then we also now have an intern. She's awesome. And then we have what we call a psychiatric nurse practitioner who can prescribe medication and is also trained in therapy. So she meets with the guys as well and interacts with the guys as well, and also does the prescriptions. And then we also have a psychiatrist that works with us as well. So as far as clinical, that's kind of who's who and what's what. And now, and then we have an alumni director, we have an admissions team, we have a CEO, we have a co-CEO, we have a chief financial officer, we have a marketing officer, a chief clinical officer, and they're the ones that kind of, handle business. And we have a director of operations also. So now, as far as her question, which is who should I believe, or is that what it kind of was? Like,
yeah, who should I listen to, or kind
right.
of.
So,
yeah.
Oh, and by the way, at Jaywalker, you have to have a sponsor and you have to work the steps, or you can't stay with us. So who should you listen to? Well, in our house, I would say you need to listen to your family therapist, because the family therapist is the one that's going to deliver you the information and the update on your son, and also help you process what you're doing and how you're changing your family system. And in our house, at our place, there's an entire homework curriculum for the families. So it's not just an hour's worth of tell me about my son. It's very briefly tell me about my son. And then I start with, okay, how'd you do with the homework? Where are you in the homework? And we get 3 different kinds of families. The ones that devour it and love it, and they're like, oh, this is great. And then the ones that start it and then kind of like, oh God, I'm so busy. Oh, it's so much. It's so hard. It's so long. And I can generally prod them to do a little bit better job. And then the ones that are like, yeah, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, okay, why not? Screw him. I don't have a problem. He does. This is his issue. My job is to make money so that he can go to therapy treatment, not to learn anything about it. And I'm like, and so I don't fight with those people, but I guess that's the answer, is that listen to the family therapist. If the facility you're working at doesn't have one, I would suspect that you probably have a contact through the admissions department, like the business development person or the admissions person, and they generally are the ones that take most of the phone calls from the families. So, but you should definitely come to Jaywalker so we can work with you, because we do it differently and it's very successful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I sure hope they're not getting bogged down with everyone. And I mean, it's great that there's communication and all, but I mean, there is such a thing as as too much, but yeah, all the license you're talking about license. The techs and the alumni are not the ones. They're not licensed. They're just that's how I got my start. And if given the option, I would go back to being a tech. And I mean, good Lord, I mean, talk about the best days of my life. But
the joke is like, okay, congratulations, you've graduated from the program. Now you're sober. Here's the keys to the van.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't fight in the back row, and just
it's somehow, some way they still trusted me to drive the van, but there was some complaining, and then I found that we can stop for ice cream afterwards, which is pretty big no, but don't worry about me. I'm about being everyone's best friend. And so that eliminated the complaints about my driving, going too fast, but then I got it from the staff saying, like, why are they going to ice cream? And I'm like, well, they were so good at the meeting. And so, yeah, in other words, best time of my life, but don't hire me as a tech. So,
yeah. But but the techs and the alumni guys are the ones that like hang with the guys.
Yeah.
And
best time of, anyone. I couldn't recommend it enough. And there's some people that have gone directly into business development or wherever it may be, and good for them. But good Lord, being a tech is everything, man. It.
Yep.
But all righty.
What else you got?
So there's so her dad, grandpa in the case, it sounds like, or daughter or son, one of the two. So grandpa is being a grandpa and basically spoiling, and has been very successful. And so ultimately here we have a grandpa, grandma. They're living their best life, but obviously not too much time left on the earth. And there is an inheritance to be dropped down to all grandkids and so forth like that. This is, I'm sure, a mom. So there doesn't seem to be a concern from her dad, which is grandpa, that if heaven forbid he leaves this earth, that this inheritance will not go to well means. And so mom has brought it up. She says she has never pushed it very hard, just casually mentioned it, but she's, I guess, looking for advice and kind of out, so we have grandpa that has, she says, not millions, but it's big enough. And so there's obviously an inheritance. How does one bring up to grandpa, or it could be anyone within the family, for everyone trying to relate to this? Inheritance, I can tell you, is the death to someone in active addiction. And so it sounds as if grandpa's like, oh, well, like, he's one of my grandkids, he's going to get it. And there's sounds like there's concern from the grandpa, but I know my experience, you can put things into play. But how would you consult with this mom, dad, whatever, looking to kind of prevent an inheritance with someone in active addiction?
This, by the way, we deal with this all the time. That's all the time. Got a bunch right now. A lot of times, if the trust is already set up, or the whole concept is set up ahead of time and the person's already dead, it's kind of too late.
Yeah.
But ideally, if they're still alive, what you want to do is put somebody in charge of it, not the person, not the grandchildren. You want somebody else, whether it's a lawyer or another family member, to be in charge of it as like the executor, And for the person that's struggling with addiction or mental health issues, it just comes with some restraints of, we will, as long as you're testing positive or testing negative and you're sober and you're going to treatment and you're engaged in the process, we're not going to just dump money on you, but we'll pay, we'll pay for school. We'll pay your living expenses. We'll pay for the rent. We'll buy you. We can pay for a car, but we're not just like, here's $100,000, because you're right, that person will be dead. And I mean, my dad, it was like 1990. Was like I turned 25, and I inherited like $25,000 worth of stock, and I sold it immediately and went on a spree. And that shit was gone so fast. I mean, just boom,
It's amazing how quick it goes.
Oh my God. I was just like, whoa, where did that go? And I had nothing to show for it.
Nothing. And no power, no nothing.
Oh God, no, man, I got nothing. And but that's the thing nowadays with the if you drop that kind of money on someone that's actively using, you're pretty much riding them into their grave, and there's just no two ways about it. So what I would say is kind of like my whole philosophy is, sure, we'll support you and we'll help you as long as you're no drugs, no alcohol, you're working or going to school and have some sort of self-supporting concept, and that you're attending your mental health and your addiction. As long as those things are happening, we're here to help. We're on your side. But if those things aren't happening, nope. And we're gonna create accountability functions. Drug testing, breathalyzing. If you're school or work, it's someone's got to be checking on that. And then same thing with the mental health stuff. We'll pay for your therapy. Oh, hey, I noticed you're not going to therapy anymore. So that doesn't work. So alcoholics and addicts crave structure. They need structure. And the worst thing you can do is actually let them, figure it out themselves, because they will always just implode. They need structure.
So how does mom, fill in the blank, go to grandpa to get him on board to do this?
So you might want to take someone like you or someone like me with you to have that conversation, because you can say, hey, Grandpa, God, thank you so much for your generosity. This is so amazing. But I want you to understand, if you give that to him, he's going to die. And the thing is, grandparents all know someone their age or someone they dealt with that was an alcoholic. They all do. Or nowadays, drug addict, alcoholic.
Yeah.
So they're not naive to it. They're not like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, yeah, okay, I get it. And, it's like, and to be totally blunt, if you're going to drop that kind of cash on someone, I would put restrictions on it. I would be like, sure, I'll give you this money, but you got to keep working, or you got to go to school full time, and, this isn't, lottery money where it's party time. And, that's the worst thing you can do to them. The worst thing you can do to them. Yeah.
No, I tell everybody, there's still a restriction with my mom and dad that I won't get any money until I'm age 50. Now, I struggled in my 20s and 30s, got sober when I was 31 or something like that. And so when you say 50, that to me sounds like I'm going to be turning 49 in about a month. So we're getting really close to 50 nonetheless. So, but I will say, there has been talk, well, let's just get rid of that clause, because I look at me, I'm a good person, obviously done, and so I've always kind of just said, no, let's just leave it in. It's my kind of way of saying, hopefully I'll be past 50 before mom and dad pass or something like that. But I mean, it also is a good reminder that, in coming up, 18 years or whatever sober, I don't know if I would still trust myself with an influx of money. It may not be drugs and alcohol that I buy, but there'd be some. So I get what you're saying, and educating and putting parameters around it.
Critical.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if it sounds as if there's kind of needing to be a talk with grandpa about this, and I think it's simple. Telling grandpa it's not you're taking love away from him or punishing him, it's protecting him, and do simple things, and he still has access to that money. So
that's the deal right there.
I think just guessing, I have no idea, but I think grandpa probably hears take him out of the will or take him out of the inheritance or something. Reality is, yeah, like what you're saying, like put some restrictions in it, but we're not keeping him away from it. So
yeah, just put some speed bumps in it.
Yeah, just do with my dad. My dad didn't think that my family didn't think I was going to make it to 50. So they're like, oh, they're probably telling my brothers, don't worry about it. He won't be around 50 anyway. So more for you, but fooled you. Now we can't talk about all this without talking heavy moments. So like not PSA, we never know the situation, but I can relate to this question so much from families. And so let's just make it the last one. Let's end on the heaviest one, I guess. So you have a situation where there's been the trying of putting in boundaries. Sounds as if been asked to leave the house, and she listed a couple other things, but so some healthy boundaries trying to protect, and their response is always goes to a suicidal, like if that all happens, I might as well just kill myself or something like that. So, the question is pretty evident is, you got mom and dad hearing this. He said it she said like he's been saying it for 15 years and there's been no attempt that they know of. But sure. I think this is where boundaries kind of get a bad name and kind of get that icky feeling with families because they think these boundaries, well, they're just going to hurt themselves or kill themselves or something. Like, how do you dissect this?
So the short answer is you call the bluff. And it's, if they have a history of suicide attempts and injuring themselves, then you call 911. It's not your job. You're not qualified for that. Not you, but the mom. When someone says, "Well, I'll just kill myself," oh, okay, cool. Well, let's call 911 and let them handle it. Or, let's have a well check on you. I mean, go through all that process. Call the bluff. Oh, okay, you're going to go there. Then we're going to do the appropriate response. Which, by the way, as a licensed therapist, is what I'm required to do. So why don't you do it? When somebody says that, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Where are you? Great. I'm going to handle this right now. Oh, no. You said the magic words, and the magic words come with a visit from, the local constable or whatever. And that's just how the game's played. And, then they're like, well, I just won't tell you anything. Okay, cool. The fact that you're using this as a threat tells me that you're mentally unstable and that you need help. So now I'm going to work even harder and to make it clear that, and if I have to have somebody, if I have to call and well check on you every single day, I will. That's just what I'm going to do. But it's not, here's the important thing. It is not the family's job to manage the person. It is not their job to sit on this person and babysit this person and bring them into the house and all that sort of stuff. No, and no. You've tried that and it doesn't work. So let's put them in the hands of professionals and allow them to get help, and that's really the answer to the question. And I know they don't like it, but that's the answer to the question. And I worked in a psych unit for 3 years, and I worked on a crisis team for 3 years where I was the guy in the ER evaluating those people. And I want to be clear with you, 99% of them were not suicidal. Now, I'm not saying we ignore this. You have to pay attention to it. But what was happening is that things had gotten so overwhelming to them that they didn't have any way of processing it and dealing with it. So they thought, well, this is my solution.
Yeah.
And it's really not their solution, but they need to sit and talk with someone who can help them come up with strategies.
Or they're weaponizing it. I mean,
or they're using it as a threat. I mean,
you nailed it. I've done this a couple of times with families, and it's funny. Not the situation, but when families then say, all right, well then we're gonna call the cops and we're gonna do a wellness check and go through all of this. And addicts, alcoholics have a way of getting out of any situation. They can talk their way out of a wellness check, but that's not the deal. Like, it's these families then reporting like the suicide talk has gone away. Like ever since we kind of stepped in and said, like, we're going to do this wellness check, we're going to call the cops. They're not really interested in having wellness checks or cops into their lives in active addiction. And so, yes. And we also found in one of the cases, it popped back up. There was a suit, and nothing happened. They went through it. And mom called me. I still remember it was a couple of years ago. And he's like, he just threatened suicide. He hasn't done that for years. And I said, well, you know the drill.
Yep.
And shockingly, that wellness check led him into a path to sobriety. I think he's still sober today.
Sure.
But it eliminates that weaponizing some. I wouldn't, but when that suicide talk does come up, you can take it. It has more weight, I would say, if you've gone through those motions in the past. Yeah. Because I'll just tell you, as a former, troublemaker, someone threatens wellness or cops in my. I won't say that anymore. It's.
Don't do that.
Yeah. And then to wrap this all up, and needs to be said, the boundaries are the one that saves. It's not, because of this, don't eliminate the boundaries.
Oh, no.
Don't say like, I learned my lesson, I'm going to stop putting boundaries in. Go through the motions on the wellness check and the cop and stick the boundaries in. They don't evaporate. So. No.
If anything, this shows the need for the boundaries of like, oh, okay, that's cool. If that's what you want to do, great. But then this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And that's how this works, and
always, as always, reach out directly. You can, get, so I'll end with this. I was talking with someone, when you have lack of power, like no electricity, you start calling and go to a bunch of AA meetings or something. And it was interesting. Maybe I only found it, but as a former troublemaker, still somewhat troublemaker, I would always watch these crime shows and always be like, if you're innocent, why are you asking for a lawyer? And, it's, like, well, you see it all the time, false accusing or something like that. But I would just say, like right now, like if I was brought into a police, I would have a lawyer there. We were having this somewhat conversation about, and this guy goes, the interesting thing is that same thing with when it comes to addiction. Like no one wants to bring in the lawyer or the professional because they feel weird or it makes them look guilty or something. And I was like, I've watched crime shows my whole life. How is this not correlated? But that's exactly right. Like, lawyers are there to protect. And then, how quickly families come up with this delusional talk, like, let's not bring a professional into this. Let's find it out, figure it out on our own.
Oh yeah.
Could be saving you a lot. Like, could be saving you a lot by bringing in a professional in any area of your life. So,
dude, yeah. Don't even get me started on Googling, Well, I went into ChatGPT and I'm like, ah!
Oh, I mean, the amount of ChatGPT therapists, that ChatGPT therapist must be, I don't know how he's seeing so many clients a day. He must be milking insurance because God, everyone's going to him. So
help me God.
But you put out a job, Kevin.
I'm gonna work on it, baby. All right, pal.
I'll see you. Take the rest of the day off. You deserve
it. And my day's just starting.